To be able to get to where we are going, how much importance does understanding history plays here? Before you respond, I want you to pay attention to what happened in Nigeria. Up until recently, history was actually taken away from curriculum in Nigeria. Now you will ask yourself, okay, what could be the reason behind that? Nigeria is known, okay, I know, I believe that we are not free, but we have a kind of a semblance of freedom in that at least we do organize our election. Why could history be taken away from the people not knowing about themselves? What would be the importance of history, knowing about yourself in finding our own root in this world? I don't know if the question was a little bit confusing.
No, it's not. So that's an important point, and we talked about that. Yeah, I talked about that with one of my business partners, Ikuma, and he's in Nigeria too, and he discussed history and how it had been taken away, but also the factor that it was shaped by British colonials who are still very heavily involved in Nigeria. But we have to understand that history, like, yes, they call it history, but the past tells us what happened before because it is going to repeat itself, right? Things are cyclical. That's why you have people who are into different religions and they study sacred texts because it's not useless, right? Like, think about it. Those are like ancient texts that we're reading or that we've tried to preserve and we continue to read because it doesn't become obsolete, because a lot of those stories are stories of wisdom, things that have happened and things that will take root again. That's why you have a lot of people who reference, for example, the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, right? You have people that reference these things because the past never just goes away. It comes around again. Things aren't linear, how, you know, the Western education system wants you to believe. It's cyclical, right? And the past, the history tells you the past and it dictates your future. You're able to either you study the past and you're able to know, okay, what's going to happen, and you become docile and you let that past repeat itself, or you change that past and you create a different future, and then you create a whole nother cyclical wave that's going on. So that's kind of the concept of history, and that's why it's important. So if you're able to take someone's past and history and education systems away, you're able to control their future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, it does make sense. It does make sense. And now, cultural storytelling, that is a conversation that we are having just now. Can you say something about the term itself, cultural storytelling? Can you break it down a little bit?
Okay, cultural storytelling just entails being able to give people the opportunity to tell their own stories and their own dialects and their own ways, right, of their own traditions, and being able to share those stories with other people, because I believe everyone has a story, and a lot of people don't a lot of people don't like that, or a lot of people don't think so. A lot of people, oh, my life is pretty, it's pretty, simple, pretty original, like it's the same old be all. But the thing is that storytelling is so important, and it's vital, because it's not about us seeing ourselves as, oh, we're the best, or I had an amazing story, let me like write it down, or whatever the case may be. No, it's about documentation and documenting your own story, because when you don't document what happened in your lifetime, best believe someone else is, you know what I mean? And it might not be the way that you like it. But by that time, it'll be too late. Another thing is that it's important to storytell your own narrative, and it's for your own legacy, your own community, your own children. You can pass that down. So I really harp on cultural storytelling and being able to capture other people's stories that may not have the time or want to, because we're in a space where African people can recreate our own narratives and retell our own stories in a way that has truth to them, and in a way that actually aids to the African interest. So that's the idea of capturing people's stories and narratives. an anthropologist and I'm into international economics. But really the harp on it, I'm an anthropologist. I'm an African anthropologist, right? So I come into it with entirely different intentions as to why it was created, but it's really to preserve our culture and the diversity of our culture. There's unity and diversity, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. At least more than 100%. All right. Now, uh, how simple is it to even dig up African history so that we can understand it? Now, you see, this is very important in that in history, African history, some people think that it has not been documented, but actually it has been documented. It's just that it has not been documented in a way that we think it was documented. You see, when people write, they write for themselves to understand it. They don't really write in coded way for some other persons to understand it. Now, for you to understand it, you are going to have to decode what they are telling you.
Right.
Now, how do we dig up African history? Because this is the foundation of human being. That first understand how to organize a society. Science, astronomy, physics, biology, think of anything. But today, we are looked upon as stupid people who have never done anything at all. And also because we are expecting that other people will come and probably tell us our history, maybe looking at a document from Harvard University or maybe somewhere in Paris or maybe somewhere in Vatican. But it's never going to happen. This is our job and it's a very tedious one. So I repeat the question again. How simple is it to dig up African history so we can understand it?
Yeah, I definitely, I know, I want to address a point. I guarantee everybody who ends up listening to this podcast that once you change the narrative, when you speak to someone of a different ethnic group and they try to make you feel like your people are stupid or inferior, whatever the case may be, once you change that narrative with that person, they will go silent. Right. The point is that we believe in that fallacy. Some people believe in that fallacy, but once you don't believe it and you know what actually happened, they go silent, right? Okay, so then to your point about how difficult it is, it's very difficult, right? That's why it's an entire field of study. Archaeology, anthropology, linguists, historians, all these different things. All these people are in their own field work trying to decode it, right? Because it is so intricate and it's not only related to Africa. Because of all of the confusion that has taken place, information is dispersed everywhere, right? Like you have the Americas that have African history and intertwined in it. You have Asiatic countries that have history that's intertwined in it. You have even the Middle East that has history that's intertwined in it, in European countries that have African histories that are intertwined in it. So all of it is so decoded and it takes so much time that there's no plausible way to get it in one lifetime because it's over hundreds of thousands of years that you would have to decode and redecode because someone else came and wanted to create meetings in order to change histories, right? That's what happened with the Bible. You had the Council of Nicaea where people wanted to change the way that sacred texts were written and they wanted to write a certain people out or curse a certain people, right? In writing. So it takes a lot, right, to be able to mesh things together and to understand things on a scale that is accurate. But then that's why you have to always continuously research and do readings, and it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime's work that is always ongoing, and it really helps when there's a lot of people or everyone who is doing this type of work, essentially. So it's very difficult.
Okay, it's very difficult, but we are going to have to do it anyway because it is our job. Now, when you go around, because you made mention of going to Ghana, Accra, going to some other part, you are in Morocco, and in some other part of Africa, you have gone as an anthropologist, as a researcher, okay, also as a businesswoman. But anyway, let's concentrate more on the anthropology of the history, research, and digging up of this data, this information. What do you find among the people? When you look at their faces, what do you see in terms of what you want to understand?
What do I see in their eyes of the people? I think what I'm seeking is what's the fire, like the passion to want to rebuild something that's sustainable for them and their children. That's really what I'm looking for and seeking. But when I'm talking to different people on the continent, I hear a lot of times that they have stories that's been passed on to them orally, and they have these stories of resistance and things like that, but they're currently in a state where, they don't want to risk their lives. And I'm seeking for the people to be in a state where they can no longer take the oppression that's going on, and they're ready to rebuild something for themselves and not wait for a government to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. All right, now looking at the opportunity of, because story is also, how do I call it? There is also a lot of money to be made by just telling our story. In that, you look at a lot of movies that have been done on stories, on the experiences of people. If we have a lot of book being written about our story, we will also make money from it. Apart from just educating ourselves about our past.